Hi, it's Lee, and welcome to the Tesla Economist. With the Cybertruck fast approaching, I thought we could explore the economics behind such a vehicle, particularly when compared to the competition, and why it is the Cybertruck that will be vastly superior to anything else available on the market today, or likely the rest of the decade, or probably also likely far longer than that too. Now, when the Cybertruck initially starts production, it will likely affect overall margins a reasonable amount. There'll be some significant costs in this line to start with. However, we have 4 other factories running, at least at volume production, and Texas with a Model Y factory running too. So this cost can be spread among them. At a guess, when the Cybertruck starts, the minimal production, I think gross margins might drop a couple of percent. I mean, this won't be any surprise, as we know a low-producing modern Tesla factory is a cash furnace. We've already been told to expect a slow ramp. In other words, the cost of goods sold are going to increase a lot with this additional product line. And this could potentially be Tesla's most expensive production line, given it makes a much larger vehicle than the others. However, there's no paint shop and other various new manufacturing techniques, so it may not be that bad. And it's not like when Berlin and Texas were both online about the same time and producing negligible quantities with only Shanghai and Fremont to support it. Tesla is larger now. But I think it likely to hurt margins in Q4, but worth it if we actually see Cybertrucks coming off the line. From there, it may not be until perhaps Q2 next year until the production line starts to break even. We're told to expect in the region of 50,000 Cybertruck units by around Q4 2024, and with expectations of the production line reaching around 350,000 most likely in 2025. It's a serious production line designed to get costs as low as possible, with massive amounts of capex involved in order to do so. In manufacturing, there's a trade-off. You spend more on capex to get cost of goods sold lower. However, the larger capex can only be justified if you also get quantity higher, which is what economies of scale is all about, and balancing supply and demand with the correct price. The higher the quantity, the lower the price needs to be in order to have enough demand. However, the higher the quantity, then the more economies of scale you reach, thus able to get costs lower to hit the lower price points to reach that demand. The economies of scale Tesla has achieved is arguably the biggest barrier to entry Tesla have when it comes to EVs. It's why no one else can get their costs down low enough, or their supply as high as Tesla. Compare this to the Model S and X lines. Obviously, there's less automation there, no gigapresses for example, basically lower capex, but as a result, the cost of goods sold is higher. However, the prices of these cars are so high they can be justified. There isn't enough demand to build a production line that could make 500,000 Model S and X's a year. Although, if Tesla did do that, then of course the cost would come down further, which would increase demand, but may not still hit the market clearing price. It's all about getting the correct balance. As a result, the S and X lines are profitable with probably as few as about 1,000 units a week going through, maybe even fewer than that, due to the massive amount of gross profit margin each of these cars carry. These are special, unique cars, and are in smaller supply, so can justify a higher price tag to obtain these margins. Now, the Cybertruck, of course, is also a special, unique vehicle, and it's not going to be cheap either, at least likely quite a reasonable discrepancy between the initial advertised prices and what it will actually cost when launched. However, the difference between the Cybertruck and the S and X is consumers are paying for utility, rather than novelty features like Falcon wing doors or neck-breaking acceleration. Not to mention the sheer size of the Cybertruck, demonstrating where the additional expenses are going. It's not so much a rich person's toy, but more a product that people are willing to spend more on because they justify the improvement in their standard of living and can quantify the value. And right, sure, it's also a rich person toy in many ways too. However, like we're saying, the Cybertruck is trying to appeal to a much larger market segment than the Model S and X. Put it this way, there's no $100,000 Ford SUVs or luxury sedans, but a Ford F-150 Raptor starts at almost $80,000. So this is a comparable price with Ford. And I'm fairly sure that Tesla will have comparable performance, or more than likely, significantly faster acceleration with additional motors. And sure, the Ford F-150 can also start in the mid-$30,000 mark too. But the F-150 Lightning starts at $60,000 currently, and we can only imagine how much better the Cybertruck specs are than that. I mean, I kind of think the Cybertruck will start at around $80,000, and this might be a tri-motor with just over 400 miles of range, which is nearly twice the range from a Lightning. I think the initial price tag will need to be that high in order to get decent margins to cover some of the cost of this manufacturing when we're in low quantities. Although the Tesla community is still arguing over whether the Cybertruck will launch with 4680 cells that may only produce under 300 miles of range with a dual motor, or maybe a 2170 battery that could produce over 400 miles of range. And like I'm saying, Tesla have gone the capex intensive route with the Cybertruck because they plan on producing about 4 times as many a year than the S and X combined. That's a big difference. But this capex leaves huge overheads. So even though Tesla can break even on fewer than 1,000 S and X's a week, it's going to take significantly more for Tesla to cover the costs of the Cybertruck line. Remember though, the price of the S and X is still high, with the S starting at about $90,000 and the X starting at about $100,000. I don't know what sort of quantity of Cybertruck Tesla need to get in order to break even on this line, but at a guess, probably about $20,000 a quarter if the prices are in this ballpark. Assuming Tesla was right about how they could get the costs of these vehicles down when they first announced the fact that only start at $40,000 at the reveal, which looking back now seems far too good to be true. And at another guess, I wouldn't expect that we hit this break-even run rate until around Q2 or Q3 in 2024, assuming things went relatively well and we didn't run into some sort of new Cybertruck production hell. Tesla have their pre-orders now though, and have tested their demand. Tesla is confident there'll be plenty of demand, 300,000 a year or even more, and can justify this kind of capex in order to get the quantity this high, as eventually you hit economies of scale, which is the whole point of it when compared to the S and X line. S and X has limited capacity, but whenever you can ramp up more, the marginal unit will always cost lower than the previous unit. This is economies of scale, as the incremental cost of an additional unit doesn't require any more capex. There are certain fixed costs on the manufacturing line. This is also one of Tesla's main advantages, the fact that they're able to ramp up production lines to absolutely insane, unheard of, never before seen run rates, and thus get a much higher output from the same footprint when compared to the competition, hence reducing cost and increasing economies of scale. The Cybertruck will be Tesla's first production line since the Model Y, so we hope and expect there has been a lot learned since. However, the Model Y in Texas and Berlin lines was still designed around a Model Y that was built in Fremont initially, and the Model Y was really just an alteration to the Model 3, so going back about 6 years ago in some ways. However, the Cybertruck is a totally new design, and with not only a factory solely designed around that vehicle, but also a vehicle design that is designed around the manufacturing process that Tesla have learned. This is the reason for the Cybertruck's straight lines and no curves, yet it does have a certain look, like some sort of fighter jet, and is certainly unique to everything else on the road, and will stand out. But it also makes manufacturing that much more simple, resulting in an amazing engineering feat where Tesla are able to build such a colossal vehicle in high production, thus resulting in massive economies of scale. The more complex the engineering, then the more efficient the vehicle can be made, and to a higher degree. Hence how truly difficult it will ever be for anyone to match so much car for the money. Anyway, this will be one of the main focuses for the end of this year and most of next, watching how Tesla can scale the Cybertruck and hoping they haven't bitten off more than they can chew. They have a pilot line already testing it out and making sure it goes as smoothly as possible. And Elon has set a low bar of expectation for initial production. The target is to hit an annual run rate of 200,000 a year by the end of Q4. If this is achieved, then I think the market will be very happy. Hi there, I'm using Verbalate AI video translation and lip sync software. It's pretty amazing. Watch this. I can translate my videos into other languages. For example, I am now speaking Hindi.
नमस्ते, मैं पहली बार हिंदी में बोल रहा हूं, लेकिन वर्बलेट इसे इतना आसान बना देता है.
Or how about Spanish?
Hola, vaya, increíble.
También puedo hablar español. Sign up at verbalate.ai today to gain early access to trial the product for creators and strategic partners, and gain the ability to translate and lip sync videos in all major languages. You can view the info in the description below.